Welcome to Bet On It. Holy cow, it is week 11. Who would have thought we'd make it this far? I'm glad that the NFL season is still pretty much intact. Let's bring in two of the other guys that are not so much intact after last weekend. Okay, that's mainly just me. Marco D'Angelo at Marco in Vegas. Gianni the Greek. Corrales at Greek_gambler. Gentlemen, we got in trouble. We ranted too much on Monday, so I need you guys to reel it in and keep the rants to a minimum today. I know we all get a little fired up because I think this is our show, so we're allowed to say whatever the hell we want.
All right, Kelly, I let you say that. Yes, looking forward to this week, bounce back week on the show. Actually ground out a small profit for the show with my plays, and Johnny had a winning week as well. But, for me, we missed the two big plays on the show, and that we can't have that, Kelly. So we're looking forward to a bounce back week.
I'm looking forward to it as well. VR, go ahead. You saved the show.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to let the watchers know, don't worry. I took square sensitivity training the other day. No more ranting from me at all. I don't want to melt any snowflakes out there with me talking about winning and being all happy that we're up for the year and doing good in NFL and college football. And 10-5 on best bets, college and NFL. I don't want to say all that stuff and piss anybody off. So I'm just going to try to give some good plays this weekend. I won't give any 5% plays. We don't want to get too excited out there. May not even give 4% plays because, again, too much winning makes people upset. So we'll try to keep it around that 55% range going forward.
I'm just dying. If you guys missed the Monday show, our fearless leader, Johnny Detroit, sent us this nice flag and said, stop going on 3-minute rants. And none of us replied. That was the best part, is none of us replied because we weren't going to comply. All jokes aside, you guys, let's get into these primetime games. We have a lot to break down for this week. We have a nice little NFC West divisional game. Arizona headed to Seattle. I'm looking at the WagerTalk odds page. Looking like threes pretty much all the way across the board. 57.5. There is a couple 57s offshore. VR, I'm going to go to you first. Your thoughts on the Thursday night game?
Yeah, I got involved not on this primetime game yet. I've already bet 7 or 8 NFL sides and totals, same amount pretty much of college football. But I didn't really mess with this game yet, the Arizona and Seattle side, to be honest with you. I do lean Arizona. I think there's a little bit of value there based on the fact you're looking at two teams that played each other earlier in the year. Arizona beat them, so it took overtime. They did it at home, and it's like kind of you have to make it more or less a Seattle slightly favored, but we know there's no home field advantage factored in. But I think it's that narrative of, is Arizona going to beat Seattle twice and sweep the season series? It's almost, we know Arizona's moving forward and now not ready to compete for the West crown. I mean, this year, maybe, who knows? But they are starting to move forward from being at the bottom and looking up at the Rams and looking up at Seattle. But are they there yet is the question. And I think that's why when this game kicks off, I think the books are going to end up needing the Arizona side. Now, me leaning Arizona, this isn't a fade against the public, obviously. I think it's more a fade against the line, where I think they had to make Seattle a bigger favorite than they really should be. I mean, these two teams are pretty evenly matched. We saw that when they played it. They went to overtime. And since then, Arizona's done nothing wrong. I mean, that game against Miami, they lost by a field goal, for God's sakes. It could have went either way. And then we saw what happened with Buffalo. They won that in the last second. So there was kind of like random results over the last two for Arizona since that Seattle game. For Seattle, they've lost the last two. So it's like, now what? They beat San Fran afterwards. You're supposed to do that. And you lost the last two. Can Seattle lose 3 in a row? You don't expect that. And I think all of that, which again isn't quantifiable, is why you're forced to make Seattle a favorite when I'm not too sure they should be in this spot. Again, I haven't fired a play on this. No money behind this opinion. But just my initial feeling when I saw this was it should be a pick 'em or maybe Seattle won. But the only reason they're 3 is because of that. Will Seattle lose 3 in a row? Can they get swept in the season by Arizona? Things like that, which are not quantifiable, and makes it a difficult game to bet.
Marco, I'm with VR here. I was shocked to see this one as high as 3. Now, I haven't gotten to the window yet on the Cardinals, mainly because I don't love them in this spot. I know that the narrative can be Seattle has revenge for the loss earlier in the season, but the real question here is Seattle has not fared well against the spread. Their last 10, they really have dropped the ball against the spread against this scrappy Cardinals team. I'm curious to see who you like on Thursday night.
Well, Kelly, this is one of those things where, and I understand where you and Ace are both coming from, where looking at the line the way you're doing, because you're looking at the current form, and I can't disagree with that, with the current form. But I'm going to point out something that, just 4 weeks ago, they played in Arizona. And if we remember that game, Kelly, you and I think we're both on the home dog. It was a Sunday night game with the Seattle coming in there. Seattle was a 3.5-point favorite on the road. Now, just a month later, they're a 3-point favorite at home. So there has been a major adjustment in the line, and it's because what have you done lately? Since that loss, they've lost 3 out of 4, Seattle, including, the collapse they had against Arizona. And Arizona has, put on a winning streak here, or not a winning streak, but they've won 4 out of their last 5. So they have drastically changed the line since that first game. Where I'm going to look at this game, in the one statement that A said, and this is something that you're going to hear twice this week. You're going to hear it in this game, and you're going to hear it in the Sunday night game. What's the chances Seattle loses twice to Arizona, and what's the chances the Raiders are going to beat Kansas City twice? That's going to be the knee-jerk reaction by everybody. So I get that, and sometimes there is value just fading what, John Q. Public is going to do. But where I'm going to go with this, I'm going to look at the total. I expect this to be another high-scoring game. Neither one of these teams can stop anybody. The teams move up and down the field on them. And I look at Seattle, and instead of taking the full game total, I'm going to take a team total, and here's why. With the total where it's sitting at, I can get Seattle right now, team total, here in Vegas at 30. I'm going to go over 30, and why not? They've played 9 games this season. Seattle has scored 30 points or more in 7 of the 9 games. The 2 games that they didn't score 30, one of them was last week when they played the Rams. The Rams have the number 2 defense in yards per play. Understandable. The Rams slowed them down. The Rams slowed their pace down because they were playing with a lead the whole game, and Seattle didn't have the opportunities to score. What was the other game that they didn't score 30? It was the Minnesota game. And you're going to say, well, Minnesota's defense sucks. Yeah, it does. But if you got Dalvin Cook in the backfield, and Minnesota's game plan was to run 41 times, you're going to shorten the game and shorten the number of possessions. And that's the only reason they didn't get to 30 in that one, but they still got to 26. There was a missed extra point in there somewhere, or we would have been in overtime and somebody would have got there possibly. I'm going over team total 30. It's the safe way to go in this game. I have a weak vote for Seattle, but I'm not going to go that route. And one other thing, if Seattle gets a big lead and you're worried about them milking the clock, ain't going to happen after the first meeting. They're going to keep the pedal to the metal. So let's go over. Rover, we're taking it over 30. Team total.
Marco, you already kind of alluded to the Sunday night game. That's the Kansas City Chiefs they're coming here to Vegas, I guess. 7-point favorites, 6.5 at Pinnacle is really interesting. Total looks like 56.5 across the board, except at the offshores, sitting at 57. Now, you're right. The Raiders went in as double-digit dogs into Kansas City and beat this team. So the narrative is going to absolutely be, can Kansas City lose this game twice? I think that they can. Marco, I'm going to go to you first.
Oh, they definitely can, but they've had this game circled on their calendar. It's the only loss of the season for the Kansas City Chiefs, and they're, in a fight with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Oh, who was that? The Pittsburgh Steelers? Yeah, the last undefeated team. Anytime I can do that, I'm going to be happy. I should have brought my terrible towel in, Kelly, and waved it for you on air, but maybe next week. They got a big game next week, and we'll be talking about that later in the show. You look at this one, and where I'm going to go, Kelly, is that loss by Kansas City. If you remember, they were coming off back-to-back Monday night games. One of them was scheduled for Monday night, and one of them was not. They played 2 weeks before they played the Raiders. They played what was billed as the game of the year. It was Monday Night Football. It was the Baltimore Ravens, the Kansas City Chiefs. This was the AFC supposed to be title game last year. Never materialized. A lot of hype for the game. And what happened? Kansas City went in there and just knocked the snot out of Baltimore. Then they come back the next week. They were supposed to be playing on a short week. They didn't. Their game got canceled, pushed to Monday because the Patriots were having the COVID issues. They needed extra days, so they pushed it back. They got the game in on Monday. No Cam Newton in that game. And playing back-to-back Monday night games and then coming home and playing the Raiders, who at the time weren't playing as well as they are now. I think Kansas City, pure and simple, looked past them. They're not going to do that again. And we look at the Raiders, and I know there's been some comments that I'm a Raider hater. I'm not a Raider hater. I'm just looking at the numbers. And to me, I think they're doing it with smoke and mirrors. They got a 3-game winning streak. Let's look at that 3-game winning streak that they have. They beat Cleveland on the road. That game was a game in which the winds were blowing. Remember the field goal that, was headed to the one upright and ended up on the other upright? The wind was blowing so bad. They couldn't throw the football. Cleveland didn't have a running game. Nick Chubb was out. Can't pass, no running game. Cleveland was handcuffed in that game, and the Raiders took advantage of it because the Raiders do have a good running game. Then we look at the second win. Well, it was the Chargers. The Chargers are the Chargers. They find ways to lose games. Yeah, the game was never in doubt for the Raiders, but a rookie quarterback, Justin Herbert, threw for 312 yards. How many yards is Mahomes going to throw for indoors in perfect conditions? And then look at the last game. Kelly, I don't want to bring up a sore subject with you, but the Denver Broncos, their offense actually makes Chicago's offense look like, the fastest thing on turf because it is pitiful. Drew Lock, he had nothing last week. They had an opportunity at halftime. If they don't have that crucial turnover, Denver's still in that ball game, and then they blow it at halftime. I'm not sold on the Raiders. So am I going to jump on KC? No, because it's almost too obvious. But what I am going to jump on, I know they're going to score points, and I know the Raiders are going to score points. The Raiders' offense has been clicking, and it will get points against this KC defense. So I'm taking this one over the total of 56.5. Winning team is going to be in the 30s in this game. That I am sure of. So I'm looking at a projected total of 61 or more. I'm going over on Sunday night.
Marco, I'm with you. VR, your thoughts on the Sunday night game? This is, this is tough because I'm not a Raider hater. I want to be a Raider hater deep down in my soul. But this Raiders team, I think, has just superseded expectations. Maybe Marco's right with the smoke and mirrors. But on my end, I think this is too many points for an AFC West matchup.
Yeah, I passed on Monday Night Football this past Monday Night Football, but I've been getting involved in Sunday night games. And I got involved in this one immediately. We bet the side and bet the total. I'm going to talk about the total here. I got a 4% play. It's a premium move. We bet over 55 immediately when this came out. I released it at over 56. And I still think there's value there. You could still get probably 56.5. I wouldn't wait too long. But I will say this, at that 57, 58 range, it looks high, and you'll start seeing under money. I don't think it'll get way out of whack, meaning this isn't the kind of line that is going to reach 60, even though these are arguably two high-profile offenses. Here's the thing. It looks square, but when you dig deeper, it really isn't. Because if you look at the matchup between these two teams, 7 of the last 10 have gone under the total. Only 4 of the last 10 times that these two teams met has the total even been above 50. So this has been a low-scoring series. But this is a different year. We know that. And more importantly, these are two different teams, especially in the case of the Raiders. And what I mean by a different year, scoring is up. We now have more than enough data to support that. That scoring, when all the dust settles, will probably be a higher scoring year than the year prior. I think we are league average in now. This brings it up to about 51 points per game. But the markets are only averaging around 49 points on totals. So they're still a little behind. They're not as behind as when we talked about this in week 4 and week 5, when they were still averaging. The NFL game average was around 51.7, I think 51.5 at that time. And the totals were still like 46, 47. So they were a touchdown off. Now they're less than a field goal off, but they are starting to climb to where we are getting more of two-way totals, meaning results, overs, and unders. And again, because of that, I don't think this total is high enough. You have two high-pro offenses that I don't think are going to be stopped by the opposing defenses. Mahomes and Carr have combined for almost 500 combined passing yards, 41 touchdowns, and only 3 interceptions. You're not going to stop these guys. Running backs, Jacobs, Edwards, have combined for over 1,200 yards. They're going to get theirs. And I don't think that's going to change. They played each other earlier in the season. It's probably going to pick up, the 5th quarter on Sunday night. So I agree with Marco. I bet the over, and hopefully we see a ton of points on Sunday.
All right, I'm with you guys. We're going to take a quick break, but when we return, we're going to take a look inside the Westgate look-ahead line, see maybe what's moved a little too much, and of course, now my new favorite after the last couple of weeks segment, the teasers.
Every Monday at WagerTalk.com, all plays are just $9. This even includes top-rated 5% plays, which normally sell for $40. There's no better day to get winning picks than $9 Mondays at WagerTalk.com and our sister site, SportsMemo.com.
Only $99 for the gold sheet for the rest of the season? That's right. The Big Ten, Pac-12, and MAC are just getting started. The college football season is going deep into December. We'd like to offer you the rest of the 2020 college football season for only $99. That's right. You get expert analysis, power ratings, stats, and more for both college football and NFL. This $99 special also includes all of the college football bowl games and takes you through the Super Bowl. Just go to www.goldsheet.com/WagerTalk and use the code CFB is back. Add on the Gold Sheet Extra and CKO for the best bang for your buck. Welcome back to Bet On It. Let's dig deep into some of these look-ahead lines from our friends over at the Westgate here in Las Vegas. We just touched on the Thursday night game, so I'm going to skip over that. Arizona was a 5.5-point underdog. Now they're only a 3-point underdog at Seattle. Marco, I'm going to start with you, though. New England at Houston. Houston opened -3. New England gets a win on Sunday night. Now all of a sudden they're a 2.5-point road favorite?
No, Kelly. Let's pump the brakes here on this one. This is a major overreaction. Everybody's looking at Houston. They laid an egg in Cleveland, only put up the one touchdown in that, the one touchdown. It was 10-7 in that game. You look at it, and this is a spot where they played in a driving rainstorm in Cleveland, and so did New England, but New England looked good. They won. New England, had a good running game. Baltimore, they're just not the same team right now. Ever since they gave away that game against the Steelers a few weeks back, I'm not sold on this one. I think this is a total overreaction. Too much value, I think, with the Houston Texans. And when we get to another segment, I think we're going to find a little even extra value with the Houston Texans, hinting to what's coming.
All right, I'm with you there. I'm already locked and loaded in those teasers. We are the Green Bay Packers at the Indianapolis Colts. Green Bay opened a 2.5-point favorite. Now, Indy is a 2.5-point favorite in some shops, 1.5 in some others. So that's kind of interesting there to see the variance. Your thoughts on the line move?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, we'll talk about this later when we cover some picks, but it's sharp money related. Is it warranted? Probably not, because the betting market's going to come in on Green Bay as an underdog come Sunday, but it was forced upon the sports books from sharp bettors that like the Indianapolis Colts and forced that line move.
All right. Marco, Cincinnati at Washington. Washington opened at a pick. Now Washington's a 1.5 point favorite. This is also interesting because you can still find pick 'em at some spots, and now you can also find 1.5. I know that that's not a significant price change there, but it is kind of interesting to see different books showing their hand here.
Yeah, it does, but it also creates possibilities, Kelly, with something we like to do because the fact that they did make it, one side a favorite, you get to take the other side over the touchdown if you want to use it in teasers. And this is one of those ones we talked about before we went on the air, that if it does come back, go to pick and would cross through the other way, which we've seen several games do over the last few weeks. These ones that were sitting around that one, we've seen it cross, and you can end up with a live teaser ticket both ways with the, based on the math. But we look at this one, and I'll say, yeah, I can understand this one. Cincinnati, yeah, it's all about Joe Burrow and how many yards he's going to get passing and if he's going to be able to keep them in the game. Their defense is horrible. That's the problem with Cincinnati. They got run over last week by the Pittsburgh Steelers, who were in an angry mood because they played a very poor performance the week before in Dallas. So you were going to get the best effort from Pittsburgh last week. And Pittsburgh's got a good defense. Pittsburgh can pressure the quarterback. And that's where the problem is for Joe Burrow. I don't care how good he is. You can't throw when you're running for your life or you're flat on your back. I haven't seen anybody be able to do that yet. And Washington can put pressure on a quarterback. So is this move warranted? Yeah. And let's not forget, Alex Smith started last week. Off to a slow start in that game for them. But what the Detroit Lions do, and they do it better than anybody other than maybe the LA Superchargers, blowing second half leads. They blew a big lead. I think they were up 24-3 at one point and ended up having to get a late 3-point field goal at the gun, or they were headed to overtime. So you can see the momentum on Washington. The move's justified. But again, I think the value would be if you wanted to do something in a teaser, it's certainly there with Cincinnati.
All right, if you watch our Monday edition of Bet On It, you already know why this one moved. The New York Jets at the LA Chargers. Chargers open a 9.5 point favorite, now down to 8.5. VR, take a bow.
Yeah, I gave out Jets plus 9.5 to my guys, I think Monday morning or Sunday night. I don't even remember. And I thought the reason's simple. You got a 2-win football team. What business do you have laying double digits almost to anybody? I mean, the only time you covered a spread greater than -3 one time this entire season, and that was against Jacksonville. Okay, is Jacksonville better than the Jets? Maybe. But are they? I mean, on a neutral field, I know some guys that would make the Jets a 1-point favorite. Probably some other sharp guys that would make Jacksonville a 1-point favorite. Regardless, that's the only team you were favored by more than 3 where you covered. No, they shouldn't have been 9.5 point favorites, and that's why they went down to 7.5. But of course, at 7.5, and as the week progresses, you'll get the bettors getting to the window and betting against the Jets because that's what they do every week.
Yeah, I agree with you here. I'm looking. I see some 8.5, so it looks like it's headed to probably 8. I look at the Chargers probably being a big teaser situation this weekend. You know what that means. That probably means they win the game by 1 or 2. That being said, that's a great segue into our teaser segment. Marco, I'm going to let you go first. Who is your teaser for NFL Week 11?
Well, geez, I already said one of them, and there's no mystery there. It is the Houston Texans. New England should not be favored against anybody on the road. I'm sorry. And with this offense that New England has, do you really expect, even if New England wins, that they're going to get separation in this game? The back door will always be open in this game if they do get down. I'm taking Houston. I'm teasing them up to the 8 points. That is the first half of the teaser. Now, the second half of the teaser was a little tougher for me because I could have went several different ways. I alluded to one of the ways I could have went when I talked about Cincinnati, and they were the runner-up for the teaser. As Kelly likes to do, she likes to have round-robin teasers. Well, guess what? I probably will have some too, and Cincinnati will be on those. But for the one here on the show, I went to the Sunday night game, and I went to the Kansas City Chiefs. with the line sitting where it's at right now at 6.5, I use the 6-point teaser. We get them down to -0.5. All we got to do is win the game. That's the way I'm going to go. If come game time on Sunday and the first half of my teaser and all of the other teasers I have working towards Kansas City is good, and somehow this game gets to 7 or maybe even ticks higher, I would have the option. Like I told you on Monday, Kelly, you had a situation where you could have hedged some of that back on Minnesota and cashed all the tickets. That's always a good thing to use teasers as a way to put you in a positive EV situation even more. So I'm taking Kansas City on Sunday night, and if we're live going into the Sunday night game, it gives me options of other things I might want to do. But my official teaser is Houston and Kansas City.
You're absolutely right, Marco. I could have hit both sides. I didn't do it. I got lucky enough to hit the Bears plus 8.5. VR, who is your teaser for this week?
Yeah, just want to say real quick disclaimer. I do not have a teaser bet yet. Last week coming into this segment, I had already released a teaser to my subscribers. That came through for us. That was nice. If you guys followed, good cash. And unfortunately, any of the teams that are plus EV teasers, if you've been following the show through the year, you know the kind of sides I look for, the kind of numbers actually I look to tease. Unfortunately, almost all of the possible tease sides were opposite of what I've already bet or like. And it made no sense to share them here. So that'll give you an idea of what sides we're on. The teaser that I sent in for the show, just because, again, I didn't bet it, but the numbers fit the plus EV category, is Houston and Cincinnati. But a disclaimer, I did not bet it. I did not release it. We have to give a teaser. That's what I'm given. I have like 10, 15, probably NBA draft props I'd give you that are stronger than that. But, it's a teaser segment, so I got to give a teaser. Houston, Cincinnati.
I like it. The three teams you guys gave right there, I actually did a nice little round robin. And because I've had a lot of people ask me on Twitter, who else? Look, I threw the Packers in there. I know the Packers are going to be a square side, but getting the Packers over a touchdown against the Colts. And you could look at Baltimore down to 1. I did not put Baltimore in my teaser yet, but I may get there by the end of the weekend. Again, those are 2-team, 6-point teasers where you just put them in groups of 2, similar to a round robin style. We're going to step out for a quick break. I hear that freight train coming. That means VR has got a steam game for us. And is the deli back open? Or maybe Marco found us like a trappy situation. And of course, we've got some TNA with Ralph Michaels.
Get $25 in wager bucks added to your account after your first purchase at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com. This is just our way of saying thank you for joining the WagerTalk and Sports Memo family.
Welcome back to Bet On It. I mentioned right before we went to commercial break, I heard that freight train coming. That means VR has his Steam game of the week. VR, who is this week's Steam game?
And talk about Steam. This one's still getting money, but there'll be more than enough public money the other way, especially on money line parlays and teaser bets. Before the season started, I bet this team to win the Super Bowl on a future, and they are not going to do that. I could already throw that ticket in the dumpster, and that's the Dallas Cowboys. And fortunately, I bet a second team is a future in week 5, the Pittsburgh Steelers. That ticket's still alive, but this one's trash. And I don't know why we're on Dallas again, but we took Dallas Cowboys plus 7.5. It started getting bet. That's where I gave it out. It started getting bet at plus 8.5. Listen, they're coming off their bye, the Dallas Cowboys. Minnesota off that Monday night game. Their stock's as high as it's going to get. There is some recency bias to it. You can't forget that, having covered there. And there was a lot of Chicago money. And more importantly, there's a Minnesota team that now has covered 3 straight games since beating Green Bay in Green Bay as almost touchdown underdogs outright. But again, the spread becomes the great equalizer when you're betting sports. More times than not, we know which team is better on the football field. And I just don't think Minnesota is more than a touchdown better. And I don't think it even sets up that nicely for them. So coming out of the bye, I'll take the Dallas Cowboys taking the 7.5. And again, it's the Steam segment, and I could confirm with certainty this one got steamed multiple times by multiple groups. And that's why a bad team like the Cowboys, who were getting 8.5, are now as low as getting 7 in some shops. And that's a pretty key number.
All right, I agree. It's a very key number here to kind of just go back to that, because I do think this is going to be a very popular survivor pick this week going against the Cowboys. Do you think the Cowboys have a shot to go into Indianapolis and pull off the W? Or AKA, are they worth a money line sprinkle?
Yeah, why not? Always, anytime you're going to play your dogs, always, especially in the NFL. It sounds cliche, but the any given Sunday really holds true with these dogs. And with the NFL, you do have that parity. That's why you don't have 27-point underdogs, 35-point underdogs like you do in college football. The worst team is capable of beating the best team on Sunday, maybe with a little help from the refs, maybe with some luck on a fumble or some turnovers. But regardless, if you're betting an underdog, I always say allocate a little bit of that straight bet onto the money line. Long term, I think your ROI will increase. Meaning if you're a $100 bettor, just start betting 90 and 10 on the money line. 90, 10 on the money line. Long term, those 10 on the money lines will add up. A lot of times you will trash that $10 ticket, but because you're getting plus money, you don't have to cash as many of them as you're going to throw away to still be profitable. And that's why I think your ROI will increase. So split your bet up a little and put it on that money line. Always sprinkle in the NFL. Always.
I always tell people a 10% sprinkle is usually worth it. Marco, it's almost lunchtime here in Vegas. Is the deli back open?
No, Kelly, we closed the deli this week because we found a trap game, and we'll be back with the deli next week. Maybe, we'll have some leftover turkey sandwiches next week, or actually we'll be taping before Thanksgiving, so we'll be having some pre-turkey sandwiches. But for this week, it's a trap game, and the trap game of the week for me is this Tennessee-Baltimore game. People are going to look at this game, Kelly, and they're going to look at the Baltimore Ravens and look at Tennessee, and they're going to say, Tennessee, man, Thursday night football, playing at home against Indianapolis, and everybody was knocking Phillip Rivers. Well, he made them look silly on Thursday night. So who's going to really want to jump on Tennessee after that performance on Thursday night? Well, Baltimore said, hold my beer. They put a stinker out of themselves on Sunday night going into New England. But you know what? Which one's going to get dismissed easier? People are going to go and say, hey, it was Baltimore. They were on the road. It was Baltimore. They were playing in a driving rainstorm. It was Baltimore, who's pretty much, one-dimensional team, passing or running the football with Lamar Jackson and company. They were a little bit banged up in the backfield, so they didn't have their best game. Now they'll rebound at home. That'd be the narrative. Well, if that's the narrative, why is this number under the touchdown? They're begging you to go ahead and take Baltimore in this one. I like to look at the lines when they're sitting there, right around the number. I always say, why don't the bookmakers just put the 3 out and put the 7 out and let the public decide where the number should be? When they take a stand, I take notice of it. And they took a stand here. We're at 6.5, and I'm going to lean to Tennessee. A lot of people are also going to point out, oh, Baltimore's got revenge. They got caught looking ahead to play in Tennessee. You know what? I would buy that. And I know I always say that revenge is overused in sports, but I point out that revenge for a playoff game is important. And that's the case here. Tennessee knocked out Baltimore, the number 1 seed, the best record in football last year. They beat them, and they beat them soundly. So, yeah, Baltimore should have this circled and want revenge. But I'll tell you what, Kelly, even though that was a playoff game, you can forget about it. Their revenge game is in 4 days when they play the Pittsburgh Steelers on Thanksgiving. That's the game Baltimore's got circled.
And that's why I thought this was going to be the sandwich spot, and you were going to be on the Jags. You set me up here in my heart.
Yeah, I know. That was the runner-up. I was in the running, and, we're going to be doing a video later today, and I'll be breaking down that Steeler game, and I'll tell you the reasons why it didn't make it for the sandwich game. But, yes, it did set up, and it was there. But I'm going to look here with Baltimore. I just think that they're going to want to get in and get out because they know they got a physical game on deck with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they want that one bad. because, Pittsburgh winning in Baltimore in a game that Baltimore dominated, Kelly. I know, you got the division road dog in that one. You cashed the ticket. Baltimore dominated them from start to finish. They had over 200 more yards, and if they didn't have the stupid Lamar Jackson turnovers in that game, they win that game by 3 touchdowns. They want the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they're looking forward to Thursday. And what better scenario for revenge would be to ruin Pittsburgh's undefeated season? Yeah, this is just a horrible spot for Baltimore. I'm going to take Tennessee. I like them. Baltimore's not played good football since that Steeler loss, and I think it'll continue on Sunday. I think it's a very live dog, and you asked the question to Gianni in the last video, do you sprinkle? Yeah, you sprinkle, because if you are taking the underdog, remember in the NFL that if all you do is pick the winner, the winner of the game is also going to cover the spread 83% of the time. So if I think they've got a shot here, then I got to think they're live. And I'm going to go ahead and put some money on the money line, and I'll take them plus the 6.5. I think this one goes down to the wire, but I've got Tennessee winning 27-24.
Okay, then maybe I will leave the Baltimore Ravens out of my teaser for this week. I see him. He's hanging out in the wings. That's right, Mr. Ralph Michaels. It's time for some TNA. All right, if you guys are not following Ralph on Twitter, you're missing out on all the good tidbits at CalSportsLV. Ralph, you have tweeted some really interesting things in regards to NFL totals over the last several weeks. You updated them this morning. Would you like to start off with that?
Well, I call it my public service announcement, Kelly, because we've been tweeting it every week. It's nothing new, but we always have new viewers on this show. So let's remind people, this year with the increased scoring, we've also seen increased totals. So if you blindly in the NFL this year played every total of 48 or less under the total, you've won 55.4%. If you played every total of 48.5 or more, you've gone over 65.6%. So it's an incredible break. It's right at 48 or 48.5. 48 and under, 55% have gone under. 48.5 or over as a total, 65.6% to the under. And we know also this year, Kel, that the home field edge is diminished. I want to remind people that small away dogs, if you play away dogs from +1 to +5.5, you have gone 31, 17 and 1, 65% against the spread.
And those have also been absolutely money in teasers. That's kind of what I was alluding to during the teaser segment, as well as on Twitter. For some reason, those small dogs have been cashing at a really great rate. Ralph, what else have you dug up for us?
Well, I went on a rant a couple shows ago about overused revenge is. But this is one instance when I'm going to bring it up because, let's see, the Kansas City Chiefs are 17 and 1 their last 18 games. You're on a bye. You probably remember who you lost to. And one of the revenge situations I brought up was this. If you're playing a division foe the second time in a season and you lost as a home favorite in the first game, you have covered 66% of the time the last 5 years, going 44 and 23. And how about this one, Kel? If you lost the first game as a home favorite like Kansas City did, if you're a winning team and have a winning percentage of 60% or more like Kansas City is, you're an away favorite or a dog up to +4 like they are, and you throw away game 16, which a lot of times you're resting your starters, those teams in that situation like Kansas City this week and likely like Baltimore next week have cashed 13 straight and have gone 18 and 1 the last 6 years. So again, to me, it makes perfect sense. A winning team, win percentage over 60. You lost as a home favorite. You're the better team now as a home favorite or a small home dog. And again, that's a strong, strong revenge situation. And one more thing I want to bring up, and I've mentioned this before as well. When you are on the road off a home game and your opponent allowed 400 yards the last game, So we have the Detroit Lions this week. They were off a home game. They're on the road this week. And their opponent they're playing allowed over 400 yards. Those teams in that simple system have gone 69% against the spread, 83 winners, 37 losers, 5 pushes. That's the Detroit Lions this week, and it will also apply to the LA Chargers next week.
That's really great stuff, Ralph. I still don't know if I cannot have to plug my nose to bet the Detroit Lions. I may have to just do that after a couple cocktails on Thanksgiving. What else have you got for us? I know you've got a ton here, and we've still got 2 minutes left of your segment.
All right. The Cleveland Browns won 10-7. In this crazy 2020 NFL season, we know that doesn't happen often. So I wanted to look what happens to teams the week after scoring 10 points or less and winning a game, and what happens to a team that only allowed 10 points or fewer and lost the game, like Houston. So how about this? A team like the Cleveland Browns that scored 10 points or fewer and won the game have covered 69% of the time the next week since 2004. An incredible win percentage. You won a close game. Your defense likely played well, or you had a major weather factor. But again, after scoring 10 or less the next game and winning, those teams are 69%. So then I wanted to see what happens on the opposite. Teams like Houston that allowed 10 points or fewer and lost the game, well, guess what? That's a positive as well. Since 2013, those teams are 10-2-2 against the spread, 83%. And going back all the way to 1991, they are 56% against the spread. So it's a very unusual situation where both sides of the equations are a positive. And you think about it, it likely means that both defenses played very well. And while offenses' performances don't carry over from one week to another, it has shown that if a team is playing great defense, that does carry over with positive success to the next game.
I think this might be the only TNA where everything you have said coincides with either my bets or my teasers. I have a big smile on my face. Ralph, do you have anything else for our viewers for NFL Week 11?
Last one, simple as it gets. Is there an edge if you're playing your third straight home game against an opponent playing their second straight road game? Well, there is. Cleveland's facing Philadelphia this week. Miami is hosting New England in 4 weeks in that same situation. Those teams since 2014 have gone 21-13, 61.8% against the spread. And lastly, I just tweeted this. You know, we're talking about the Browns and Philly. We're talking about Washington and Cincinnati, 2 close games. Remember, NFC East teams are 2-18-1 straight up against non-division foes. Those 2 wins this year, Dallas with that miracle win against Atlanta, and Philly beat probably the most injured team in the NFL this year, the San Francisco 49ers. So those are the only 2 non-division teams, NFC East teams have beaten this year.
All right, great stuff from Ralph at Cal Sports LV. Ralph, I can't wait to see what you dig up for us next week for these Thanksgiving games, and I can't wait to see your face on Thanksgiving. All right, have a great week. Again, at Cal Sports LV, Ralph puts out a ton of great information. If you guys are not following this man, you are missing out. Did you know every Tuesday is $2 Tuesday at WagerTalk.com? We pick the hottest handicapper and offer his best bet for just $2. This is a great way to introduce yourself to the winning handicappers at WagerTalk and SportsMemo.com. Welcome back to Bet On It. We're over halfway through the show. That means it's time for this week's Barking Dogs, and I'm looking at the script right now. Both of these dogs have a lot of issues. I don't want to go so far as to say they're rabid, but they might be. Marco, I'll let you go with your flea-infested dog first.
Wow, Kelly, that's quite an introduction to my play. Thanks, makes me just want to run out and bet it. Thank you, dear. Hey, on the last segment, I forgot to give you one stat, and this was talking with my boy last night, Stat Daddy, Ralph Michaels. We found that going back to 2014, going back to that Baltimore game, Coach Harbaugh and the Baltimore Ravens, before they play my Pittsburgh Steelers, how about 3-11 against the spread? So just another little morsel for that other play. But this one, oh boy, hold your nose walking to the window. We already talked about this game with Ace's play earlier. It's the Dallas Cowboys. It's the right spot. I say it over and over again. Teams going into the bye week. If you go into the bye and everything's rolling, what do you do? What do you fix? You read your press clippings. You feel all good about yourself. And it's a momentum stopper. But, man, whenever the train is running off the tracks, you need that break. You need to hit the reset button. And if there was ever a team that needed it, it sure was the Dallas Cowboys. They were able to get Andy Dalton back for this week. He's been out with a concussion for the last couple games, so they will have their quarterback. I know even when he was in there, he played like he had a concussion, but this is a guy that's now had a couple weeks to prepare. The offense is going to go against the Minnesota Viking team that's playing on a short week, a physical game. You know, that's something that we don't talk enough about. When you turn around on these short games, when you played a physical game the week before and then you got to come on a short week, especially this year, got to look at that as an angle. And it's a short turnaround for Minnesota, and the Bears are a physical defense. They may not play much offense, but they will hit you on defense. And the Vikings, you know, they haven't been a margin ball club. I can't trust them laying points. They still have one of the worst defenses in the NFL. Yeah, Dallas has a bad defense too, but they're not the ones laying the points. I'm on Dallas. I'll go ahead and take them plus the points. Kirk Cousins, the last 3 seasons, is a home favorite, straight up 20-10. Good numbers. But when it goes to the point spread, they're only 15-15 against the spread as a home favorite with Kirk Cousins as quarterback. I'm not buying it. I'll take Dallas. Don't tear up that ticket yet, Ace. They're still live for the playoffs, and anything can happen once they get to the playoffs. It is the NFC least.
True
and,
that.
2 wins.
True that.
They pick up 2 more, man. They're in the driver's seat.
I am just floored. My buddy Jason, who's a big Dallas fan, texted me last night. Can you look and tell me what the odds are for the Cowboys to win the Super Bowl? I said they're plus 50,000. I'm going, what the hell are you thinking? He goes, put $100 on it for me. I go, no, I won't. Like, that's how insane it is. But I understand that they just need to have just a little bit to get over that hump and somehow sink into the playoffs. VR, who is your barking dog for this week?
$100 for $5 million. Why not take a shot? It is 2020. Stranger things have happened. That's for sure. Another NBA props. I didn't even know the draft. Was that tonight or tomorrow or something?
It's tonight.
This week. I know that, right? It's tonight?
Fine.
Okay.
Time out. We need some gold. You've now brought up NBA prop drafts entirely too many times on this football show.
I have no idea. I can't understand why all this draft stuff just keeps coming in during the and I'm like, you know what I mean? I just didn't expect it because I had given a couple draft props last week that I saw coming in that were actually pretty significant sized bets. And I'm like, oh, okay, the NBA draft's coming up. I always thought that was in the summer for some reason. But anyway, here's a couple. I'll shout out real quick. The premium that I gave. Oh, the first overall pick. I don't know what the price is now. We got like plus 150 on LaMelo Ball to be the number 1 pick. Another one, a matchup. Obi Toppin minus 130 and 35 all the way up to minus 150. Obi Toppin to be drafted before Onika Okongwu. Yeah. Again, like I said, if I could be pumping gas next to him, I'd have no idea who these guys were. But I bet them. And Denny Advaja. Yeah, he's in a couple of these. Denny Advaja to be drafted before Obi Toppin. So Obi Toppin's going to go before that other guy, but this guy's going to go before Obi. That's how it's going to work out, I think, according at least to these plays that are coming in. They do pretty good with these draft props. And also that guy under 4.5, that Denny whatever, man. He's also plus 160 under 4.5. Back to the big dog. New York, who did I give? Oh, the Jets. Jets. You could take them all the way down to plus 7. Here's why. Chargers got no business. I said it in the last segment, so why waste your time? They have no business being this heavily favored over anybody. And finally, what I wanted to add, because again, I'm not going to waste your time going over what I talked about 10, 15 minutes ago, but let's not forget the Jets are still winless. When you're winless, you need to get that off your back, meaning you want to win. There's certain games that you have a shot, certain games you know you're not going to have a shot. I think they're going into this game thinking, oh, maybe we have a shot to finally get that win, especially if you're coming off having played well on Monday Night Football. You went into that bye week. You know, we almost had New England beat. You felt like shit for a day or two because you let it slip away. But now you're feeling like maybe we'll get that win. I just think until this team gets a win, or if they don't, I think they'll give effort until that happens or throughout the season. Because again, you don't want to go winless through an NFL season. As long as they have that on their back, I think we'll get effort. So give me points with the team. I'll take it.
All right. All the gold from VR. We got to love it. Okay, guys, it is now time for our best bets. Full disclosure, my best bets have been an abomination this year. Let's just say what it is. I keep saying maybe it's because I'm picking them on Tuesday and not watching the line move. No, that's bullshit, because last year I did the same thing and I went 12-5 on the show. So I just got to pick it back up. I spent a lot of time yesterday looking through these games. There's a ton of teams that I had in contention. I mentioned the Jags in a sandwich spot. I totally thought that Marco was going to go in that direction. I looked at the Browns, but good God, they're laying 3 once again. Do I play the Browns on a money line? Is that really plus EV at this point in time? And then I was trying to make a case for the Rams, but I'm done betting against Tom Brady and probably betting on him for that matter, because every single time feels like lately I've been dead wrong. So I'm going to bet on a quarterback that is the bane of my existence. Every time I bet on this man in his career, he throws 3 picks. Every time I bet against him, he throws 3 touchdown passes. I'm hoping we're going to get good Phillip Rivers here. I'm laying minus 125 with the Colts. You could also take 1.5. I do think the Colts are the right team here in the spot. They got it done for us on Thursday night. I had them plus 2.5 in that Titans game. That one we know closed Colts -1. This defense is one of the best defenses in the league, and I do think they will stifle Aaron Rodgers. I understand it is a terrifying pick, but I like the Colts here. I do think that they're going to get the win, and let's hope I can somehow bust up this bad best bet streak I've been on and get you guys a nice winner. Marco, I'm going to go to you next. Who is your best bet for NFL Week 11?
Well, Kelly, I'm going to go to an old tried and true system for me, and that's going to be the injured player theory. Drew Brees is going to be out with the rib injury. We're going to get, oh no, you want to talk about a guy that's the bane of your existence? We're getting Jameis Winston for the Saints, and I'm going to back him here. I know when he came in last week, things didn't look good, for the short time that he had to come in. But remember, he came in off the bench. In the NFL, the backup quarterback gets minimal snaps during the week. The reps go to the starting quarterback. And then, the backup gets some reps, but not as many. But in the Saints, it's even worse because some of those backup snaps have to go to Taysom Hill because they run so many plays and gadgets because of Sean Payton's offense. He's just infatuated with using Taysom Hill. So Jameis Winston really was not prepped to have to come into that game last week. This week, he's got a full week of practice. They're going to devise a game plan that's better suited for him than for Drew Brees, obviously. And then, of course, they'll still have the change-up like they always do. You're still going to see Taysom Hill come into this game and run the gadget plays that Sean Payton loves to run. Also, if you're Jameis Winston, you have to know this is an opportunity of a lifetime for you. Look what it did for Teddy Bridgewater last year. Everybody was panicking. The season was over for the Saints with no Drew Brees for 5-6 weeks. What'd they do? Teddy Bridgewater went 5-0. What'd he do? He parlayed that into a contract with the Carolina Panthers and is now a starting quarterback in Carolina. Winston knows he can do the same thing. This can get him a contract for next year and land him a starting job again. He's not going to take this lightly. And then the whole importance of the injured player theory, why it works, is the rest of the team plays at a higher level. You know you got to compensate for that loss, so everybody's going to be focused. And this offense still can go. How many times have we seen quarterbacks step right in? Look at all the young quarterbacks that are doing well this year. It's the systems a lot of times as much as the player. And I think Jameis Winston will do just fine this week. And it helps that he's going against the worst defense in the NFL. Atlanta in yards per play, dead last. I'm going to take the Saints. I'm going to lay the points. I look for a big win from the Saints this week. They get the job done this week. Then maybe we think about it differently next week. But I'm going to ride the injured player theory. Week 1, take the Saints minus the points and watch that ticket come marching in.
I'm with you, Marco. That was another one on my long list. I hope you get a cash that ticket because I'm going to be in alignment with you. VR NFL Week 11. Who is your best bet?
Yeah, I'm going to keep it simple. Listen, I'm not a handicapper that breaks down matchups and isolates X's and O's and analysis like that. I just don't do it. I know the betting market. I'm more of a sports bettor who looks for value and looks at data. I don't even need to know the color of the jersey or the players. I do things a little bit differently. And it's worked for me in major sports. And fortunately, it worked for me with MMA and the UFC. They have they have ex-pro fighters and current pro world champions that are going to cover the X's and O's and know what they're watching a million times better than me. There's nothing I'm going to say that will enlighten anyone about MMA. And there's nothing I'm going to talk about NFL that will enlighten anyone compared to listening to a Troy Aikman just talk over a 3-hour game. But I will enlighten when it comes to sports betting and finding value. And with this game, there is a little bit of both. And here's what I mean. The wrong team was favored. And it may sound a little wild, but the market agreed with me. The first bet I sent out was the Indianapolis Colts. Bet them on the money line. I think you're comfortable up until, I wouldn't lay more than a field goal, obviously. You're not getting any value. Even now, if they're -1, 1.5, I would bet the money line. I think I just always do that. I think especially against a team like Green Bay, where bettors who are going to take Green Bay will bet them on the money line. So the point spread won't reflect what it should be on the money line. And 9 times out of 10, you'll get more value betting the favorite as opposed to laying the -1.5 at -110, meaning you'll get it at money line for -120, where if you buy a half a point at a time, it should cost you like -140. My understanding of that is how I approach sports betting. In this matchup, here's what stuck out the most about Green Bay. The data that sticks out with them offensively is how good they are. I get it. Great year, Rodgers, 2,500 yards, 26 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, blah, blah, blah. It's beautiful. Top 5, whatever offense. But let's stop and wait for a second. Who did they do this against? What teams did they put these points up against? Well, they put them up against Jacksonville. Jacksonville's what, 31st in points allowed? They did it against Minnesota. Let me look. What's Minnesota? Oh, they're 23rd in points allowed. They did it against Houston. They put up 35 against Houston. What's Houston? Oh, they're 26th in points allowed. What about Tampa Bay? Tampa Bay beat them, right? They only held them to 10 points. Is Tampa Bay good on the defensive side of the ball? Pretty good, right? They're a top 5 in points allowed. That's what we're talking about with the Colts. Green Bay is now going to face a real defense, and the Colts are playing them at home and are getting zero respect based on strength of schedule, meaning the narrative is when they got a chance to step up, they had Baltimore at home, they blew that game. Now, here comes Green Bay, same spread, same result, not so fast. Baltimore's for real. I'm not too sure Green Bay is yet. I like Indianapolis. Play them on the money line. That's my best bet for this week.
I almost feel like I finally love my best bet. Thank you, VR, for vindicating that one. Speaking of best bets, we're going to be right back with our college football best bet, for college football. It feels like week 9. Not sure actually which week it is in college football. We're going to find out when we return.
Want up-to-the-minute scores and odds direct from Las Vegas? Then check out our WagerTalk odds page. You'll get all the latest lines along with moves as they happen from all the biggest books in Las Vegas, including Westgate Superbook, Circa, Golden Nugget, Wynn, Stations, CG, and South Point, just to name a few. Best of all, it's absolutely free.
Welcome back to Bet On It, and I have confirmed it is week 5 in the Big Ten, and that's where I'm going with my best bet, so that's all that really matters here. That being said, whose stock is really high in the Big Ten? That's right, it's the Wisconsin Badgers, and of course their stock is really high. They just beat the ever-living hell out of the Michigan Wolverines. Sorry about that one, Johnny Detroit. And here's this Northwestern Wildcats team quietly flying under the radar at 4-0. This team has done really well at home under head coach Pat Fitzgerald. They've covered 8 of their last 9 home games, and I'm going to take them here over the touchdown. I think we're already seeing some 7s across the board, so it looks like somebody agrees with me. I have the Northwestern Wildcats plus 7.5. Do I think they can pull off the upset? Maybe worth just a little bit, that 10% sprinkle on the money line. All right, VR, who is your best bet for this week in college football?
All right, a college game I gave out to subscribers, game 375, Rice. I gave them out at +2. They're now a 1-point favorite. I still think there's value there. Again, maybe take them on the money line instead of laying the 1. We've got +2. I doubt that's going to, help us, but it's always great to get a better number than the close. That's telling you you're doing the right things. That's a good way to gauge whether you have an edge, regardless of your short-term outcome. And it's a good way to, when you're running cold, to at least make you feel like I'm making the right moves. So if you are having like a tough stretch, some of the ways to get through it is maybe look at the point spread on those bets. And did you beat the closing line? And I know it doesn't make you feel better than have lost that money, but if you're looking at it long term, maybe you will find some consolation in knowing you're doing the right thing and believe in that process and it'll work out. And here's the thing with Rice. Bottom line, this team's only played 2 games. So we don't know much about them. But what we do know is we have 2 teams playing that have a common opponent, and that's Middle Tennessee. Now, we have Rice, who lost to Middle Tennessee at home. That was in overtime. Middle Tennessee benefited from some fumbles. I always say there's a randomness when it's by 1 score, and especially when a game goes to overtime. North Texas at Middle Tennessee State played the game of their life, beat them as 4-point underdogs. But what does my man Mark always say? No team's ever as good or as bad as they look. But we have the benefit of a team of North Texas coming off a game where they've looked the best they would look all season. Now, you couple that with the fact they have not played a single down in over a month. The last game North Texas played is October 17th. Up until that time, though, they had played 5 games. So now you're halfway into the season. It's sucking because you're 2 and 3, nothing to be excited about. And now you don't play for a month, and now you got to go play again. This is a bad spot, terrible spot to put North Texas in. I like Rice coming in. I think they're a much better team. The point spread with Middle Tennessee reflects that, even though the result doesn't, meaning Rice was a favorite where North Texas was a dog. And even if you factor in 3 points for home field, which this year doesn't count, but even if we do give 3 points, it still reflects Rice is the better team. That's why I took him as an underdog, but that's why I'd be willing to lay up the 3 here, where I think the true line should be. I like Rice. That's who my best bet is for this week. Let's see if we could get it to 5-1 in college football.
I like it. Let's get to 5-1 there, VR. I'm with you on Rice. Marco, who is your best bet for this week in college football?
Well, Kelly, I might not make you happy with my best bet. Of course, actually, the way my best bets have gone the last 2 weeks, it probably does make you happy that I'm going against your Kansas State Wildcats. I'm taking Iowa State here in this one, Kelly. And when you look at this one in first glance, you're going to see Iowa State's laying 11. Well, you're going to look at their last game. They were a 14-point favorite to Baylor, and they only beat Baylor by 7. Then you're going to look at Kansas State. And if you remember that game, I actually texted you during the week of the Oklahoma State game. He said, what were your thoughts, Kelly? I said, I'm really looking at Kansas State in this one. I think they're very live. They're catching Oklahoma State off of a gut-wrenching overtime loss. I thought the situation was perfect at home, and it was. They took Oklahoma State to the limit. So John Q. Public's going to look and just look at the final scores and say, 11 points to Kansas State, that's way too many. But if you dig deeper, I already said why Kansas State performed well. They caught Oklahoma State just in a bad spot. But if you look at the Iowa State game against Baylor, Baylor never stopped this Iowa State offense. Iowa State stopped themselves. 4 turnovers that resulted in 24 points off of turnovers. There was a direct pick 6, and then they put the other scores in, set them up, and they scored after the turnover. I am going to look for Iowa State to bounce back in a big way here, get the big win. And Iowa State is one of those teams that I like to call a 200 club member in college football. That's something I really look for. Kelly, what that is, pure and simple, is an offense that both runs and passes for 200 or more yards. And why do I like those kind of teams? Well, if you're a defense, what do you do? What do you prepare for? If you take the run away, they're still good in the passing game. They're going to beat you there. If you try to take the passing game away, they're going to run the football down your throat when you're dropping into coverage. It gives the offense so much more of an advantage. And we know in the Big 12, defense is something that you don't see a lot of usually. I'll go with the better offense in this game, and I think they roll here. I like Iowa State, and the last thing about them, they only have 1 conference loss. They have 2 losses on the season, but one of them was out of conference. So they control their own destiny right to the Big 12 championship game because they already beat Oklahoma. They're in the driver's seat. I like Iowa State. They make a statement today. Take them, lay the 11, 31-13. Sorry, Kelly.
It's all good, Marco. Look, this is a K-State team that has just had moments like this all year, but weird things happen in Ames, Iowa. I will be cheering for you because I'm not getting involved in that
Kelly,
one. All right, guys.
Before we go, sorry, let me just address the Western Michigan because I keep getting asked this, and even Missy asked me this question. So let me address it for the people watching. I gave Western Michigan out at +3 as a 4% play. They're now -1 at South Point here in Vegas, -1 offshore on Bet Online. And she's being flooded with emails asking, should they still bet it? No, of course you shouldn't still bet it. No, obviously you shouldn't still bet it. We bet Western Michigan +3. I gave it to my subscribers at +3. If you got it 2 or 3 days later and it's now a pick 'em or -1, the only reason you should bet it is if you think Western Michigan should be a 3-4 point favorite. If you don't think that, you shouldn't bet it because I bet Western Michigan. I bet Western Michigan at 3. My thinking right now is at +1, should I give back 2% on Central Michigan and try to work a middle like we did with Arizona and the Buffalo Bills on Sunday? Like, I approach it like a business to try to make money, not to watch a game and entertain myself and cheer in Western Michigan. So again, if you asking whether you should bet Western Michigan, it's on you. If you still think there's value at pick 'em or -1, bet them. That, again, I like them at +3. That's where I bet them. I'm not betting them right now at pick 'em, and I'm not releasing them right now at pick 'em or -1. There's always a better place to get your money in. Don't lay 11-10 and take the worst of it. That just makes no sense. You're asking to lose.
All right. Thank you, VR, for that late PSA. Absolutely nailed it. Guys, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to recap everything for NFL Week 11.
Have you checked out WagerTalk today? It's Sports Center for gamblers. Watch Teddy Covers and the Prez along with expert guests, a bookmaker, and Ralph Michaels as they break down the games for that day. The show airs Monday through Friday from noon to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This show will give you betting insights for all the key games that day and advanced looks at key weekend games in every major sport. WagerTalk today will tell you how to bet the games, where the money is going, and who the wise guys are playing. Teddy and the Prez are a must-watch as their chemistry or lack of is entertaining as hell. So if you want to laugh, have fun, and make money, check out WagerTalk today, weekdays from noon to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
All right, that is going to conclude NFL Week 11 for us here on Bet On. I'm going to go down through the list and give you guys a nice recap. Primetime games Thursday night. VR says he leans towards Arizona but didn't get involved. Marco likes the team total for the Seattle Seahawks over 30. Speaking of overs, both guys like the over on Sunday night. Get involved now because there's only one way that one's going to go. As far as the teasers, I mentioned I have all 4 of these teams in a teaser, 2-team round robin style, but Marco specifically says he likes Kansas City down to a half, Houston up to 8. VR is also involved in Houston at 8 and Cincinnati plus 7.5. The same game for this week, Dallas Cowboys sitting at 7 in a lot of spots. So if you like the Cowboys and can still get a 7.5, now is the time to do it. I thought Marco was going to give me this monster sandwich game with his Steelers, but instead he says, beware of the trap. The Ravens have the Steelers on deck. Look at Tennessee plus 6.5. The Barking Dogs both have fleas, but we're involved. Dallas plus 7.5 for Marco. VR gave out the Jets on Monday at 9.5. He says the Jets at 8.5 are still worth a play. That's why it pays to listen to us on Monday. Marco's best bet in the NFL is the Saints -4 with the injured player theory. I like it. It was on my long list. I am so happy, though, that VR and I are in agreement. Colts -125 on the money line. Let's go 3-0 on those this weekend. As far as college football best bets, I mentioned I like Northwestern in a spot against what probably is not that great for the Wisconsin Badgers. They are flying high right now. I think the dog stays close in this one. Marco's against my alma mater. He laid 11 with Iowa State at home. And VR said Rice is the play. They will get it done over North Texas. Again, thank you guys for hanging out with us each and every single week. Jump in the comment section. Tell us how much you hate our rants. Tell us how much you love our rants. Tell us when we suck. Tell us when we're amazing. Either way, we appreciate you watching. As VR always likes to say, smash that like button, hit that subscribe so you never miss a single episode of Bet On It. Thank you from Marco, VR, and myself. Until next week, let's bet on it.